All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever and whenever you are. So this is the first session of code review, or I don't know. The thing itself is really still in development. It's still pending. So yeah. So here is a GitHub project or code exercise of one of my dear friends, Kurt, and this is for his school. So this is an basic ATM. So in the Philippines, we always do this for IT, computer science, or computer engineering, or anything with programming courses that we want to use in a terminal or command line interface. We want to implement this simple banking thing. So it should support the proper deposit and proper withdrawal and so on. So in this case, the data source is not in memory, but in an Excel file. So we have an ATM file. So since this is a fairly small, this is just an exercise. So uh, no project structure is okay. This is fine, right? So we don't need to be very zealous over the file structure. But let's say if we want to make this complex, let's say we want to make this bigger, we want to turn this into an actual bank. So how are we going to handle the project structure? Okay, so we have this. So first we have the entry point. So this is not required in Python. This is just like the tradition that we got from C or C++. We have the main, we have the explicit or the required entry point of the program. So again, Python not required, but since we're going to use this as a script or CLI tool, we want to uh, use this. So I will explain why we have to do this. Okay. This is for the case that if we import this file, we don't want to run any other code. We only want to run the code inside the file if we run it via Python. So we have this function. So we will deal with this when we reach this function. So first of all, for the main, we want these things to happen. So we want to load the data. We can write that here. So uh, let's say we have a file for, let's say this is our database.python. So we want to get this, and again, we don't want to load the whole OpenPyXL module in a namespace because we only want to include or to import what we are actually going to use. So for this one, we want to have a function that loads the database, for example, okay, for this for example. So maybe the database is in cache, is in memory, or is in actual database, or in a different file format. So we will uh, depends on the requirement. So load database, we will have file name, okay. Then we will do bank. Then load workbook, file name. Then we want to return the bank. And then for the saving, save database. So we want the file name, but here we can see that it actually uh, is a method of the workbook. So another thing that we should already start as a programmer is what, especially in Python or in any dynamic language that has this, we want to write type annotations. Okay, so we want to write type hints or type annotation. Python is a dynamic language, so it doesn't need types. It can infer that, but or get that at runtime. So that is one of the benefits or the good thing about Python is that it's dynamic. So you can make script, you can make program as quick as you can because it's just dynamic. You don't have to fight or you don't have to write more code or more token for types. But since we're going to pretend that this is going to be a big code base, we want to help ourselves or other developers or the maintainers in the future by providing data that is also information, useful information for everyone, for ourselves as well. So after we have this, we want to process here, like we want to do the actual process here. And so how are we going to do that? So we can have a while true there, then we can have this print, and then we can have this input, and then we have depends on the input, we can do choices. So first let's do this. Okay, so here we can do while true, and then we print this, right? And I'll just format this the way I like my Python code formatted, and so on. We can store this into a global variable or static variable and so on, constant variable, and reuse that. But for this case, since again this is small, we don't want to be too way off with the project that we're uh, trying to review and refactor. Let's just do this one. Okay, so another thing is we want to get the choices. Okay, so we can create a function that gets the user input. So here, so in ATM, let's create let's just say utils, utility function. So they say we should not create those, but I prefer those. Get user input. So this returns an integer, right? And then return choice. Okay, so another thing here is that should this get user input handle the try catch, or should the caller handle that? So for me, I prefer that the caller, the one that will use the function, handle exception. So in this case, we will have that here. So try, and then let's say user input, which is a number. So get user input, and then accept. This is a value error. Then we want to print, and then we want to say continue, right? So this is for me clearer and simpler. And then continue. So as you can see here that for example, if you have a lot more logic here, you can definitely easily understand that the values can never be uh, outside of 0 and 4 because we already handled that, so we are for sure sure with that. So another thing here, since we have like, values like this, so another thing we can do is switch cases here. So switch, no, case underscore, this is the default one. So we can do that here. Okay, so this is much cleaner, right? This is much cleaner, this is much cleaner. Multiple statement and one line. So this should be on the next line, this should be on the next line, this should be on the next line. Okay, so using a switch is easier to look at. Okay, so again E2, this can be hard coded, or we can do something like we can create a dictionary, like say mappings. So this is a dictionary of string to string. Let's say uh, I want to get the balance. So let's say the balance is in E2, right? So here we will do is mappings balance, since we get the balance, so it will map to E2. So we can easily change the mapping. So I like it better this way. Okay, so then the balance is we pass in the sheet, and then the sheet will be the bank active. Okay, and then let's just say invalid input. Now in this case, you may be asking, or you may be wondering, wouldn't it be simpler? Wouldn't it be better if we handle try catch inside here so we don't have to deal with this? So my answer is again in this case I prefer to do it this one where the try catch is handled by the caller and not the called function. Because for example, if we put the try except we are inside the get user input int function, we are committing logic, we are committing behavior inside that function. But what if we don't care if the input is invalid? What if we have something like that? So maybe we don't want to handle try catch except, or maybe we need another exception class. Maybe we want to say base exception. So there are different cases. So again, in flexibility, so we want to, I prefer it this way. Okay. So this will be balance minus withdraw. Okay, so for me, I prefer. Which one do you prefer? You prefer passing in the the value itself, the key, the value here, or we want to pass in the key, so we can do that. So if we do that, we need to we can do the checking here. But if we do it in the color, then uh, we need to do checking outside. So we can do the checking here if key in mappings and so on. So for this one, let's stick with this one. Okay, let's stick with this one. Okay, and then the countdown. So again, type annotate. So here, the countdown just from 3 will slip to with 1 second. So 3, 2, 1. But again, we can make this flexible. We can make this flexible by doing something by passing in the max seconds or the max limit, right? So we want to make this dynamic, so max limit. And what if we also want to change how long we're going to sleep? So let's say we don't want to sleep with 1 second. We want to sleep with this how many duration. So we will also handle that. So according to sleep, it is a float, so we will pass in float. But for example, we don't want to pass in float every time, so we set in a default value of 1. So here, so you count down, let's say from 3. So if we don't want to uh, pass in the duration, we can do it. We can fall back to 1. So let's say if we want the duration to be 2 seconds each, so it will be a total of 6 seconds. We can pass this one. So but for now, let's just do this one. So after countdown, we will print this. So let's just check for this one again. Kurt used plus, but here Kurt used string f string. So yeah. So again, so be consistent. Be consistent. If you're going to use f string, be consistent. Of course, there are cases where you're discouraged to use f string. For example, in logger when you're logging. But for in the case of print, be consistent. So use f string. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. So this is the whole program. This is the whole program. And I think, yeah, I believe this is the whole thing that we can uh, code review with this. So first thing is the type annotation. While it is true that it is optional, it is highly encouraged that we practice type annotation. Because, for example, here, if we don't have workbook here, what is bank? Is that a database? Is that a dictionary? Is that an array? So we don't know, right? You will wait. You can say that maybe let's just the bank variable name is just incorrect or it's ambiguous. Maybe let's just say database. But if we look at this and it is database, it can be still unclear, right? Then why do we have database active? So yeah, so I think I hope you get it. So type annotation makes things easier. So So we can easily see, hey, bank is a workbook, and we can uh, already guess or think that workbook is a Excel thing. Okay. So again, and another thing is that we don't know if Python will optimize this this fixed string. So if not, if unsure, check the generated assembly. So for this case, we also did, instead of a bunch of if-else statement, we also tackled about early return or guard clause, which we switch to match case. So actually, to make it as like an early return, we can put that here as well. But this one should be at the last. Okay, so yeah. So actually, we can make this. So instead of putting this here, we can make a function like uh, check balance. Then move that there. Then we will just pass in the shift here and so on. But for this case, since this is fairly small, we can do this. So uh, so we remove a lot of duplicating stuff. We remove a bunch of and we added handling of stuff that is not handled in the original code. So there you go, and we made it easier to maintain, like avoiding this, and so on. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you guys. So wow, it's going for 1 hour. This imagine if the code base is much bigger. Yeah, so I think we should still optimize this kind of content. So let me know, guys, which part did you like, which part you don't like, and if you learned anything, comment down. And if you have anything you want me to code review, any language, anything, just comment or send me a message. And that's it.